On July 13, 1955, a young blonde woman walked calmly to the gallows. She was 28 years old, a mother of two, and Britain's most hated woman. Her name was Ruth Ellis, and what they called murder was really the end of years of survival. To understand why she pulled the trigger, you have to understand the world that handed her the gun. Ruth Ellis was born in 1926 in a small Welsh town that smelled of coal and rain. Her father was a violent man. Her mother survived him. Ruth learned early what marriage could cost. By 17, she was pregnant by a married Canadian soldier who promised her a wedding ring and vanished. She had a son. She kept him alive. And she discovered she had something the world wanted to buy, her face. By 1953, she was managing the Little Club, a Mayfair night spot where rich men came to forget their wives. It was there she met David Blakely, 24 years old. Race car driver. Charming. Cruel. At first, he was every dream she'd been told to want. Then came the first slap. Then the second. Then the bruises she covered with stage makeup before work. He punched her in front of strangers. He kicked her downstairs. And in 1950s England, there was no shelter, no hotline, no law that would save her. There was only him, and the door he locked behind her. David's family disapproved. She was working class. A single mother. They called her that nightclub woman. When she became pregnant with his child, he celebrated, and then vanished for 3 days with another woman. Ruth miscarried. He blamed her. Accused her of doing it deliberately. But he always came back. With flowers. With tears. With promises that sounded like prayers. And Ruth, exhausted, in love, and trapped in a world with no exit signs, always opened the door. The pattern was always the same. Romance. Rage. Reconciliation. Repeat. He spent her money on racing cars. She paid his debts. He called her his little girl, and then his whore. Friends warned her to leave. She tried. 3 times, she packed her suitcase. And 3 times, he found her. Because leaving is the most dangerous thing a woman in her position could do. The neighbors heard the fights. The crashes. The screaming. No one called the police. This was a domestic matter. Ruth began to drink. Gin in the afternoon. Vodka before bed. Anything to make the world softer. And David grew more reckless. Staying out all night. Flaunting other women. Taunting her with their names. She became what he accused her of being. Jealous, desperate, sad. The abuse had done its work. In early 1955, Ruth discovered she was pregnant again. She believed this baby would save them. That he would finally choose her. That love could still win. David's response was to get drunk and introduce her to his new fiancée. That night, they fought. He was drunk. She was pregnant. And he punched her in the stomach. She miscarried for the second time. Alone. On the bathroom floor of her apartment. Her friends found her 2 hours later. The bleeding wouldn't stop. They rushed her to hospital. David never visited. Never called. Never even sent flowers. But he did send a message. Through a mutual friend. Tell her to stop being so dramatic. Something in Ruth broke that the doctors couldn't see. Not her body. Her belief that survival was enough. She was discharged on Good Friday, 1955. Easter weekend. The weekend everything ended. She went home. Put on her best dress. And went looking for him. Because sometimes, when all the doors are locked, the only way out is through. She found him at the Magdala pub in Hampstead. With friends. Laughing. While she was still bleeding. She waited outside. In the dark. Watching him through the window. Alive. Untouched. Free. In her handbag was a .38 Smith & Wesson revolver. Borrowed. Loaded. Heavy. Later, they would ask her why she brought the gun. She said, "I intended to find him." At 9:30 p.m., David walked out. He saw her. He turned. He ran. She followed. Calm. Steady. Like she was crossing a street she'd crossed 1,000 times before. She raised the gun. "David," she called. He turned. And she fired. The first shot hit him in the back. He fell. She fired again. And again. Until the gun was empty. 6 shots. 4 hit. 1 shattered a window. Another ricocheted and wounded a bystander. Someone screamed. Ruth stood perfectly still, the empty gun hanging by her side. A policeman approached. "What have you done?" he asked. He takes the gun from her. "I am guilty," she said. "I'm rather confused." Those were her first words. They took her to Hampstead police station. She didn't resist. Didn't cry. Didn't ask for a lawyer. David Blakely was pronounced dead at 10:05 p.m., 35 minutes after the shooting. Ruth was charged with murder. Under British law, there were no degrees. No mitigating circumstances. Just guilty, or not. The penalty for murder was automatic. Mandatory. The only sentence was death. And unlike men who killed in jealousy or rage, Ruth would find no sympathy from the court. Because she was a woman who drank, who worked in nightclubs, who had lovers, she was already guilty in the eyes of 1950s Britain. The papers called her the coldest woman in England. A monster. A scarlet woman. Everything but what she really was. A victim.